fire and get our own sofa.
Alright, chat.
I might beat the shit out of Havel first.
Okay. Hello, chat.
Other people in the chat?
Yeah, well, we'll have more people in eventually.
Oh,
Alright, so, as you guys know, what I was talking about earlier, if you were in the YouTube stream, we are doing the Contains2Disks podcast. Literally the podcast where we talk about anything and everything gaming related. And it's mainly a podcast with me and Jacob, but Jacob's not here at the moment, and we have Anthony here. Seto.
hello.
So today's entire thing is just going to be about how we really started gaming, like how it came into being and everything.
Hold on.
It's going to be...
So I can pull up the chat.
It's just my username on PlayStation without the YT. But yeah, like I said,
I have a login saved onto it. I haven't used Twitch on my laptop so long.
yeah. Today, yeah, just gaming in general anymore is just weird.
Uh-huh. Oh well. Yeah, it's certainly not what it used to be.
Yeah. Because when I really first started was back in the day when PS2 was a thing.
Yeah, that's kind of when I started playing games.
Yeah, my very first game I ever played, I remember it vividly, was Most Wanted, Need for Speed Most Wanted, back for the PS2. I played that for years. But the first, like, true gaming experience that I actually ever had, I think, was watching my stepdad play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I played a tiny bit of that because he allowed me to play a little bit of that back in the day. And it was just, you know, just kind of fun, quirky, you know.
Scorpion.
I never really I didn't have a console of my own at that time either. It was more me just playing, like playing on my stepdad's PlayStation and everything. Then once he ended up getting the PS3, when it came, like almost a year after it came out, I actually ended up getting the PS2.
Got an arrow with your name on it.
Had my own gaming and everything. Like, it was just amazing. So many memories were made there. Eventually, I ended up getting the my stepdad ended up getting the PS4. I ended up actually getting the PS3. In between that, I had the Xbox 360. It was a bit of a different, I want to say, how would I say, really, bit of a different time for both of those consoles, because yes, the Xbox 360 was a was supposed to be in direct competition with the PS3. It was still kind of in competition with the PS2 back in the day also, if I can really call it that.
Not gonna cap. The PS3 was a goat.
Oh yeah, PS3 was amazing. But I still think the better console, and not gonna lie, at the time, it really was the better console, was the Xbox 360. And I had so much fun on that thing. Most favorite game that I played on the Xbox 360 was actually Naruto Rise of a Ninja.
Oh, bro, I remember playing one of the like first Naruto Ninja Storm games on fucking GameCube, where it only went up to like the very first part where you like go to like the bridge and talk about hitting that was it. But that's like a core part of my childhood, really.
Yeah. Another major thing too is just like how everything was back in the day, like how gaming was. Like there wasn't that many communities as there is nowadays. It was just back when where we could just sit there and have fun, not having to worry about much.
Yeah, it hasn't been like that for a while.
Scorpion wins.
That's alright. That's alright, Venom User. I understand being busy like that. But yeah, just... And then after the PS3, I ended up getting PS4. Which actually here was back in 2020. It was when I got the PS4. And don't get me wrong, I still like Xbox, but I only like PlayStation for the exclusives.
I mean, that's the whole reason I got a PS4 was for the exclusives.
Like, PlayStation, in my opinion, just has a bit better exclusives.
Taylor, is there any way we can, my video? Are you streaming your video?
Yeah, I'm just streaming right now.
I thought you had a webcam pulled up.
Oh, no, I didn't put, the webcam. I don't put webcams up for podcasts.
Lord Raiden,
Am I allowed to curse?
You overreach and challenge.
Yeah.
I merely hope to learn from you.
Round
I was about to say, my, like, that's one thing, like, I've never cared about having cursing in my videos or streams or anything. It was always just, like, if you say it, you say it. Yeah, after PS4 and everything, I ended up loving everything. There was a while, but where, and there still is at this point, where I'm just trying to find new ways to create content, new ways to have fun with any game that I have anymore, because all these games are kind of like, I've gotten burnt out.
I mean, understandable. I mean, a lot of the games I'm burnt out on now, like, I used to play the shit out of Destiny, but ever since I started, like, college and shit, it's just, college takes priority, and you gotta dedicate a lot of time to that game.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, there's been a lot of, how would I say it, commotion here recently, I guess, in every community.
How so?
Like, there's just so much with, like, people always being toxic in every single community that there's ever been. People going off on other people anymore. Like, it's kind of to a point where it's just annoying. Where it's just, like, not fun, I guess. That's where I mean, like, it's taken to a point where it's just not that fun to game that much anymore.
I mean, I try to stay away from the more toxic side of the communities. Like, when I first got into Dark Souls, I was not looking at Reddit or anything. I was just kind of playing it, and I didn't start looking at Reddit and shit, until after I played and beat the game and whatnot, like, especially for Dark Souls 3, because I know those toxic people are going to be there, and there's no point in asking for help in a toxic community. Well, at least a community that's known to be toxic.
Yeah.
Also, please send me an invite.
Yeah, just I don't know how to really put it. The entire gaming as a whole, we've gotten to a point where everyone's just going after everyone. Everyone's cutting into everyone's throats and everything. Like, I don't know. Like, society and gaming as a whole, or not just society, just communities as a whole, has forced everyone back into a point where it's good to play by yourself now.
Can you hear my voice on stream?
I have no idea, actually. You might want to check that yourself.
Hello? I don't think you can.
Good to play by yourself now?
Yeah, hold on. I need to change my PlayStation settings.
Yeah, I can. I can hear your voice. You're good.
Oh, so you can hear my voice through stream?
Ah, shit. Yeah, I can. Like I said, communities nowadays have gotten to a point where it's toxic. And especially with today's day and age, is that those little kids that are growing up with these newer games, these newer generations of consoles, is that they're not seeing it the way that we used to see it back in the day.
Well, we also never got to deal with shitty games, so...
That is true, too.
Like, there are shitty games that come out now, but they never got to deal with, first release Skyrim and shit. Because, well, they simply weren't born at the time.
Yeah.
Or if they were born at the time, they were so young, they didn't, they couldn't have understood.
Yeah, and another funny thing about the entire communities as a whole is that, I guess, just in general how they are, like, just people, as I said before, ripping into other people's throats just to get at where they need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to the start and everything, where did you originally start your gaming adventure?
So it was mostly on PS2 and the original Xbox, right? I think one of the first games I played on the original Xbox was Borok with my brothers and Elder Scrolls Morrowind. And I kind of moved to the PS2 when my older brother Timothy got a PS2. I can't remember what games we played on PS2, like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Jak and Daxter was amazing. I'm not gonna lie, like it was one of the best games that I've actually played for a long ass time. Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. That's actually where my
The Sly Cooper games?
Oh yeah, I actually own the Sly Cooper collection right now. Like the collection for PS3. I own that. That comes with all 3 of the original games for it. Like I will say we are missing a huge core concept of the Sly Cooper games is that we don't see any more of them.
Well, yeah, because of the Thieves in Time flop, so they haven't really done anything with that.
Like, I don't know, like, the Sly Cooper games were so fun. Like, it was like the first type of, I want to say the first type of, what is it? First type of first type of platformer that Sucker Punch ever made. And then they went to make, Ghost of Tsushima. Like, it was one of the best kind of things, and that was, like, a really cool thing that they did back in the day, too. Was Sucker Punch really tried. Like, it was one of the times that Sucker Punch, I remember actually trying for a game. Another thing Sly Cooper did right was, what was it? Shit. Sly Cooper did right for the, actual story elements, too. It was one of the first games that I remember that had an amazing story.
Dude, Jack and Daxter was always really goated with the stories, because you had, 1, 2, and 3. Like, I think the transition from, like, straight puzzle-based flat platformer to more of a shooter kind of game, but also keeping the puzzle elements from, Jack and Daxter, the precursor Legacy, to Jack and Daxter 2, it was, like, pretty seamless.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, and at heart, I've always been a, granted, yes, I've always been a Call of Duty fan at heart, but I think my favorite types of games have to be any games with story. And that's the main reason why I love Watch Dogs. Like, it is my all-time favorite game. Hence, the reason my username is what it is because Watch Dogs
Never really gotten
so
Watch
good.
Dogs.
I've played every single one. I have not played the DLC for Bloodline yet. Or the Bloodline DLC for Legion.
Yeah, I thought about getting Legion when it came out, but none of my friends were going to play it, so I was like, I'd rather not.
Yeah, I've always, I don't know. I will say there's a time and place for certain types of games.
Oh, I need to look at my combos. Or not.
Well, I'm just, like, trying to have background content, and it's not really us playing. Yeah, like, another thing about, like, just in general how gaming went to was, like, the whole fact of the matter where we ended up going straight into the whole going for competition and everything, straight into just normal, like, everyday, or sorry, went from normal everyday shit to competition. Another thing about, like, just life as, or not life, about gaming as it was, that competition was still a part of it, but back in the day it wasn't as big as it was. Like, back then it was more about just, I want to, it was, yeah, like, there was competition, but there wasn't anything bad about
It wasn't as serious
that.
as people were making whole careers off of it.
Yeah. But
I feel
most
like
of those people...
a lot of corporations and more of the richer people kind of seize the opportunity when it comes to video games because they finally realized like how profitable industry it was.
Yeah.
But then also, video game companies start making their content around, the top 5% of their players. Like, a perfect example is Destiny. So, they, will nerf stuff that the, top, 5% of their player base wants nerfed, right? Their number one day one raiders and shit, right? Instead of listening to what people who, play the game casually like me, my friends do.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say there was a huge difference between casual and, like, especially with, like, games like Destiny, there was a huge difference between casual and, like, standard gaming. like especially for like how different the games themselves were, like just major differences.
Exactly.
And like we take a look back at say if we want to go back that far, we say go back to the original Call of Duty. Call of Duty 1 released back for PS2
Yeah.
back in 2003. It is such a weird
Bro, I
experience.
remember playing Call of Duty World at War on my Nintendo DS.
Yeah, and even the like handheld gaming has come a long way too over
Bro,
the years.
handheld gaming used to be, and it's fallen off so hard. Because I feel like I like the Switch and I have one, don't get me wrong. It's just never going to be as good as the Nintendo 3DS.
True, that is true. I will say there is a couple of things where the Switch did right.
I mean, it
And-
did a lot of things right. It just, the quality in terms of the parts that use the manufacturer could be better. Because it's the
Yeah.
fact that every person who has ever owned a Switch has Joy-Con drift problems.
I've never had it, and I've owned it for about almost 2 years now.
I'm just telling you, everyone I've ever had had problems.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand the whole difference, or not difference, the kind of hatred towards it, where people with Joy-Con drift don't like the actual thing itself.
I mean, I was never, like, rough with my Switch or anything. It just started happening.
Yeah, I never like did anything with my Switch to really get it. But I mean, I
The only
play
thing I
it.
could have done it in is that I brought it everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that was another bad thing too. But the way that they designed the actual the Joy-Cons, was not as good as everyone hoped it would. Like, the way that everyone hoped it was going to be was a lot different than what it ended up being.
Yeah.
Like, it ended up being an actual... Well, the way that they did it, I should say, was a lot different than how it became. And if you look at the way that they did the Joy-Con for the 3DS versus the Switch, and the only reason why I'm comparing those two is because of how those two consoles are. They're so similar, but so different. Is that the Switch's Joy-Con or joystick system, it has the thing inside of it, or the little lip over the actual mound of the center, and it uses graphite to learn where the actual Joy-Con position is.
And see, that's the issue. Why can't they just do what they did with that every other company does, that does not get drift for way longer, and use copper contact pads on a gyroscopic little...
Yeah, I will say, yes, gyroscope...
I'm sure you've taken apart your PlayStation controller and
yes.
seen how the thing works.
Yeah,
Why
analog
can't they
is so
do
much
that?
better.
Like, analog is so much better, and it's accurate, too.
Well,
Like,
it
tell me
is
why the
accurate and
Switch-
isn't.
Well, tell me why a console like the Switch needs to be that accurate.
I mean, it really doesn't.
You're not. No one's going to be playing Call of Duty or anything like that on it. And
But
people play
that-
Call of Duty on controller and have no issue.
Well, then again, controller has gone so far over the years to become...
Well, yeah, because it's not just straight analog. There's a little computer inside your controller.
Yeah, and especially now with the trackpad and everything on PS4 and PS5, like, PlayStation or Sony truly wanted to make it a proper, like, gaming experience. They failed in a lot of aspects, but they still succeeded in a lot, too.
like I like PlayStation controllers, and um, I feel like Nintendo did really good making up with the mistakes they did for the Switch and Nintendo releasing the Nintendo Switch Lite, which I've considering getting and playing that more than my actual Switch because my Switch is just impractical for me right now because I lost the charger.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to get it to charge and with the Joy-Con drift.
Yeah. My biggest thing with the Switch is that again the Joy-Con drift, but I don't use enough. I don't use my Switch enough to end up getting it.
Exactly.
But if you, which actually brings me to another point about what Microsoft is doing here recently. Microsoft is actually funding Nintendo's next console, so they can be able to run Call of Duty on the Switch. Or on Nintendo's next console. And that, I feel like, is going to be a really weird thing to see coming up. Because if that is, like, an actual case that happens, then we're going to see a lot more
emphasis on the controller.
Yeah. And if that is the case, then I'm definitely buying a Switch to be able, or the new Nintendo console, just to be able to play Call of Duty. Because if Microsoft is funding the ability to do this, then it might actually be good to a point where I want to say if Nintendo is or Microsoft is going to fund it, then it's going to be good enough to be able to run almost anything.
Yeah.
And a really cool thing to see about that is when Microsoft ends up actually funding it, and we actually see the corner set of it, is that Nintendo might actually come out on top here. Especially after now that they had to do away with the copyright stuff that they did back in the day. Like, if you remember, Nintendo was bad for that on YouTube. Like, it was one of the Nintendo's biggest things.
You could just be showing art you did, and then Nintendo's like, nope. Even if you're not making money off of it.
Yeah.
Like fan-made songs or some shit.
Like, Nintendo was, again, really bad with it, but they have gotten better. They've learned to kind of forgive and forget, but I don't think they really are gonna truly forget it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, Nintendo's an old Japanese company, so can you really expect, like, that's the issue. It's like old values.
yeah.
Mostly.
And that's another thing with comparing to Microsoft and Sony, is that Sony and Microsoft, they are in a race to the top. While Nintendo is over there doing their own thing and making some really good hardware. Because what people don't understand.
Switch, when it came out, it was lit. Like, don't get me wrong, they impressed a lot of people.
Yeah.
But they said that it was supposed to have RAM and processing speed that was beyond anything of its time. Like, that was, I'm pretty sure, was almost a direct quote. And then the processing speed and RAM turned out what it was said to be.
Well, I will say, it did actually keep to its word at the time. When it came out in 2015, it was really good. Like, the speeds that it came with were actually really good. Of course, it didn't compete with PC or at the time when PS4 just came out, I want to say, that year, too.
Wait, no, Switch and PS4 did not come out at the same time. I think you mean PS5.
No, PS5 came out in 2020. The Switch came out in 2015. PS4 came out 2014, 2015. PS4 Slim came out in 2015, sorry. While the again, the PS4 came out, I'm pretty sure, in 2014. Well, yes, we had Switch. It still was not good compared to these other consoles while they had their thing. Or while they had their just major glow-ups. Like, especially with the PS4 getting its Pro, and then you had the PS5 coming out like almost 5-6 years later. You had Xbox One, the Xbox One, then they did a revision of it, which was the Xbox One X and the One S, which did a lot of good things in both times, but I don't think it truly, how would I say, I don't think it truly came to a point where it was just it by itself. Like, consoles are going to always evolve over the years. Like, that's just a standard. And same thing with PC, but right now, especially with how everything is, PC kind of is beaten out right now by console right now. The only thing that PC has over top of everyone is the fact that they can do or play console games on the PC itself. And that's a huge thing with PC the way it is that they can play these games on they can play console games just using this new system that both Microsoft and Sony has adapted to.
Yeah, but like I think that PC will always have a market because the market's there and it's always going to be a thing. Because what do you think they make the game on before they, add it to Xbox, right?
Yeah, they have to make a
PC.
port to put it onto these consoles and everything, and then they use that port to transfer all that data over onto a disc or a Blu-ray disc or into a digital version to be able to put onto these consoles.
Exactly.
And that's the only problem I see with Switch. Granted, now that, yes, Nintendo it's more than just a hardware company. It is both hardware and software. And that's where
That's all gaming companies and all technology companies because you got to design the software for your hardware.
Yes and no. What I mean by Nintendo is a software and hardware company is that they make the games themselves. Sony and Microsoft both pay people to make the games. Like Sony's main two companies that they have behind them is Santa Monica and Naughty Dogs.
Well, you can't forget about Insomniac games.
And Insomniac too. I completely forgot about that back when Resistance came out.
Or Spider-Man Morales.
Well, Resistance was their first series of. It was their first kind of like series.
Yeah, but like I think they're most popular known for their Spider-Man games. Also, Insomniac Games made Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I completely forgot that Insomniac actually made those. I really did.
It's a core memory from my childhood of booting up a game and seeing that big ass.
Yeah. Like, a core memory for me was just the PS2. Oh. Yeah, the core memory for me was the PS2's startup screen. Like, that was the biggest thing for me. Like, hearing that, and even nowadays when I hear that, like, when I'm watching YouTube videos or anything, I will always remember the startup sound. Always. Another thing, too, about it is that I remember back in the day when there wasn't really a menu for most games. There was just, you started up. That was it.
Yeah.
And
or if there was a menu, it was very minimal.
that, and also plug and play,
think like Elder
that
Scrolls,
existed too.
Think like Elder Scrolls Daggerfall. You boot up the game, and the start menu is literally load new save, new game, or like load old save, new game, and then exit. But the Elder Scrolls Daggerfall was kind of ahead of its time, anyway, as far as games go, because there's a lot of shit you could do in that game. And they were the first games to add like 3D models and like 2D models too. It's like weird, like 2D models on a 3D scale. Because the game existed in a 3D world, but there'd be like 2D NPCs that just kind of followed your camera, so they would always be facing you.
Yeah, like that was another thing too. Is that just how PlayStation and Xbox comes with like. No, not PlayStation, Xbox. Like how these games have actually come so far to like get where they need to be. Like it's not just like I said, it's not just these companies anymore. It's just everything. And
Oh, we're both trying to figure out our combos.
yeah, like it's just. Like I said, it's not just a PlayStation. It's not just a Microsoft. It's not just Sony. It's not just Nintendo. It's every single game dev, like Activision, Telltale. Sorry, I'm just trying to name off as many as I can. Like Capcom, Mojang. Ubisoft, all these big name companies, and they kind of fallen off.
What's falling off?
Like just the big name brand companies that's came out over the years, is that they've kind of fallen off the wagon for where their games were and what they've been doing.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Like, especially Activision. Like, that's a huge one to talk about, especially in today's day and age with MW2 being the biggest game that they have right now. And of course, chat, the remake of it being MW2 2022.
Well, I mean, also, like, I'm not gonna cap with you, brother. MW2's fallen off for a lot of people, and they've gone right back to MW. This MW remastered.
Yeah, like that's what I've basically done is like my Twitch chat and everyone they've realized here recently is that I stopped playing Call of Duty. When Cold War came out, I loved it. It was amazing. But I'm more of a Treyarch person. When it comes to any game underneath of Activision, I love Treyarch's games. And Cold War, in my opinion, was one of the better games that they've made over the years. Another... Well, I shouldn't say that. One of the best Call of Duty game that, in a lot of people's eyes, is Black Ops 2 or... Modern Warfare 2. I have a different opinion when it comes to these games. I love the I love the boots on the ground, yeah. But I do have my fair share of liking the jetpack or the exo jumping and everything. I do like it. Granted, it's not the best, no. But is it still really good for what it does? Yeah. A lot of people get confused when I say I like the Call of Duty, like I like the Call of Duty thing, like exo boosts and everything.
I mean, Advanced Warfare was not fun.
I did not like Advanced Warfare. I really did not.
I did. I played
Only
the
for the
campaign,
fact
that's
that
about it, but I liked it.
yeah, I played the campaign. I loved the campaign. The campaign was amazing. But when it comes to the better Call of Duties and stuff, I will have to say my favorite Call of Duty was actually Call of Duty Ghosts. Only for the fact that it holds a special place in my heart after so many years. Because it was the first Call of Duty that I actually got to play online. First Call of Duty that I actually got to play with a group of friends and everything. And I loved it. A really good... how would I say it? One of the better Call of Duties that's came out here recently, like in the past 3 or 4 years, with the past and I'm going off of what all three companies have made: Treyarch, Sledgehammer, and Infinity Ward. In my opinion, the best one out of the three companies that have made a Call of Duty is Treyarch with Cold War. Now, a lot of people do like Modern Warfare 2019. Not gonna lie, I do like it to a point. But I think the weapons in Cold War just fit well to the actual style of Cold War, on top of Cold War itself being the way it is.
I never played Cold War, so I can't really comment.
Yeah.
I only played Modern Warfare because I saw gameplay from Cold War and Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2 and went, yeah, no, I don't want it. And also, I played Modern Warfare 2 at your house and hated it.
Yeah. But I will say the new season that came out is not bad. It's to a point where it's okay to play. I wouldn't say it's the greatest, no. By far, it's nowhere near that level of good at all. But is it still a fun Call of Duty to play? Yeah, occasionally. I will say there's aspects of it that it can do better if it tried. But comparing it to the last game Infinity Ward made, aka in Modern Warfare 2, it was a major step down. They could have done so much more with it. Could have done so much more to actually have fun in the actual games themselves. I don't want to call out Call of Duty too bad, but the way that they did it was not fun. They did it to a point where it was not anything to do with the original ways that Call of Duty was.
Call of Duty is a running gun, and Modern Warfare just changed that.
Yeah, majorly.
No one can tell me that Modern Warfare and any Call of Duty is not a running gun, because you watch anyone play Modern Warfare, and they're running and they're gunning.
Yeah.
You literally just gotta run around until you see people.
Yeah, but I will say there is some strategy.
So it's like, okay, it's strategic bullshittery. That's all it is. You're just running around like a madman until you see someone or you get shot, and then you start going, okay, we gotta think here for a minute.
Yeah.
Or you're sound whoring and you hear someone on the other side of a wall and you just light them up.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is that just in general the way Call of Duty is that I will agree with you is that it is just a run and gun, but there's a lot more strategy to it, and that's the reason why a lot of people cannot, most people are not going to be able to beat out the Call of Duty League players. Because they study the games, they sit there for almost 8 hours a day actually watching videos on it themselves, watching their own clips, trying to critique what they did originally back in those matches, just to be able to get to a good point. And it's insane how much actual training that these guys do over the years just to be able to get a good call or a good play in that match that they're trying to get. And another, I don't know if I could really say another situation, but another game, really, that has that kind of mechanic, like, it can be played one of two ways. Rainbow Six Siege. And that's what I switched to here recently with, after Call of Duty it became its thing. Like, what happened with Call of Duty is that I stopped caring about it that much.
Aw, you caught me when I tried to counter you. Ah!
I stopped playing Call of Duty, and I went straight over to R6. And not gonna lie, it's not a way that I wanted to go, but it got to a way that, how would I say? It got to a point where it was more or less trying too hard what Call of Duty did, and ultimately screwed him over.
I used to be, like, insanely good at Call of Duty. Like, all I played was, like, free-for-all and shit, right? And I was, like, getting, like, 30 kills, like, for anyone else, and just, you know, completely dogging on everyone in the room. Like, I had a whole loadout specifically designed to deal with, like, campers and shit, and then eventually it just fell off. Like, I just stopped. And then now when I get on, sometimes I have moments where I completely pop off, but they're few and far between.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something to do with, like, the new systems that's been in place. Like, how everything changed and everything with just Call of Duty in general. Like, so many new systems and everything ended up coming along. Like, the new mechanics, sliding ended up becoming a thing majorly when COD Ghost came out. And
I remember everyone hated COD Ghost, but I played a little bit, and I played like the aliens thing, and I was like, it's not fun.
I personally
I was like really young when
love
it came out, so I wasn't playing multiplayer, but I was like, hey, it's not fun.
Yeah, like, I personally love Call of Duty Ghosts. Again, it was my first online experience with Call of Duty game. So, I ended up actually, like, I want to say, how would I put it? I would say it was my, like I said, it was my first Call of Duty experience that I ever attempted, and it was one of the better Call of Duty experiences that I ever had. Like, I don't know. I had fun with Black Ops 2, don't get me wrong. But
I never really played the multiplayer, so. I
yeah.
played a little bit, and I had fun for the little bit I played.
Like, it was just one of those things where I didn't care much, and I would like to care. Like, it was one of those things that I wanted to care. But, to be honest, like, Call of Duty was just, back in the day, one of the actual funner games to play, especially with friends. Like,
oh yeah, it's definitely better with friends.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, this game that's being played right now, Mortal Kombat, like, that was another part of my childhood, is that Mortal Kombat 9, the Complete Edition, as everyone would call it, it was one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games. And after that, I loved NetherRealm. I started to play the actual games that came out over the years. What is it? Injustice, Injustice 2, and everything. But, I don't know, like, they never really compared to the original aesthetic of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Like, back when Mortal Kombat first was a thing, the best, my favorite Call of Duty, or not Call of Duty, my favorite Mortal Kombat to play after I played MK9, I went back to play Deadly Alliance and, I want to say Shaolin Monks. They were two amazing two amazing Mortal Kombat games. Deadly Alliance initiated the first sense of the 3D platformer, like the 3D fighting game. And then after a while, it got taken over by, like, that kind of style got taken over by Soul Calibur and Tekken. And I want to say it was after that point, too, when I think it was Mortal Kombat 2. After that, Soul Calibur, or not Soul Calibur, Street Fighter was just coming out. Like, it made its huge debut back in the day and everything. And everyone loved it. Like, it took a whole new take on the fighting in general. Because you had people fighting from all around the world instead of just in a certain area. And not all these people had powers. It was just these people that showed up just to show up.
Some of these people had powers.
Yeah, like...
But some people were just cracked out of their mind, I guess, and just beat the shit out of other people.
Yeah. Like,
You just got one really buff dude who just beats the shit out of everybody.
Yeah. And, like, that was another thing, too, is that, like, the reflexes that some of these characters had were unbeatable. Like, if you were to have made a game where Capcom actually came along with NetherRealm and actually made a game with both of these companies, like, both these companies made a game, it would be insane.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if NetherRealm and Capcom got together to make a game, I feel like... of course, the main characters in that series would be Ryu and Scorpion, of course. Like, they would definitely be in it.
Well, you gotta get the big ones, like, you know, like, Liu Kang's gonna fucking show up. Katana, Scorpion, Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna get some of the bigger ones.
And in Street Fighter, we have Ryu, Ken, Gaio, Blanca, M. Bison. Like, those are, like, huge names in the Street Fighter series. And then we have, like, some of these more side characters, especially in this game, like, Aaron Black, nope, sorry, I hit my mic. Aaron Black, all the kids for, like, these characters that we know and love. Like, Johnny Cage's daughter, Cassie Cage. We have the heir to... or not the heir. I don't remember the story of this game that much. I think it was Kung Lao's cousin, or second cousin or something. Kung Lao, or Kung Jin. And then we have Kenshi's son, Takeda. And then we have Jackie Briggs, which is Jackson Briggs, his daughter. Like, these newer characters in these series, like, that came out, were not as good as the original, I don't think. And
Well, yeah.
they tried it to be. But I think where they failed is that they made it so much of the fact that these characters were supposed to be the main characters. And they tried so hard to force that into that story.
Like, nah, you have to have someone die first and then become the main character.
Now, I will say, I understand why they did, Takeda's son, like, why he became a main character in one of the chapters, but I don't understand why it was so big on the fact of making Cassie a main character. Because nothing really happened until, I want to say Mortal Kombat 11, actually, where it was Cassie being the main character, really, just so there could be a fact of the matter where... What is it? Fact of the matter where something had to have happened. Johnny Cage gets captured by the time loop and everything. Then, out of nowhere, you have Sonya Blade actually dying. Spoiler alerts for anyone in chat listening and everything. But...
Dude, you should have dropped the spoiler alert beforehand.
But yeah, it's just... These games are more than just games at this point. I will say that, like, games anymore in this day and age are not just games. And it's hard to... Huh?
You should probably change your tags to, like, Mortal Kombat podcast and shit, so...
Dude. Like I said, this is just I don't care if anyone joins, to be honest. This is going straight over to YouTube. I'm just doing this so I can get some content on Twitch so I can get more revenue.
Well, I'm just saying that... Well, I mean, that's for an increase in revenue. You just, if someone's looking up Mortal Kombat or a podcast, we might show up.
Yeah. Here, I gotta move my mic to do this. Yeah, a huge thing, in my opinion, for, like, gaming anymore was that nothing came to be until the era where online started to happen.
Well, some people on Xbox and play, they grew up in, like, online talking to people. But there's also, like, a large people, like, especially on PlayStation, I know, especially me, I did not deal with a lot of the online aspect of PS3 just because it wasn't smooth, I guess. It was very clunky.
Yeah.
Like, the menu wasn't like the PS4 one. It wasn't like a dedicated menu. You went to it and you saw all the messages you ever. And you could see your friends online. That's about it.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't parties. You started a voice chat with people.
I also will say, like, I truly miss the days when plug and play existed.
How so? Like, controllers with it?
No, like, not just that, like, back in PS2, like, you could just put a disc in, you didn't have to worry about updating the game, you didn't have to worry about any of that. It just was finished.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that, like, okay, so... games, like, when they came out for, like, PS3 and stuff, they came out pretty good, but I'm never going to discourage updates.
Yeah.
Because even some, like, legendary games that came out, for, like, you know, I guess, PC, had to be updated. I mean, updates are just smart.
Yeah,
But like unfinished games like Cyberpunk that come out and release, or like No Man's Sky, that come out and they're just not what they said they were. That's disappointing. Like
Yeah.
No Man's Sky had to be completely redone because people quickly found in No Man's Sky, no one could find each other at first, right? Like you weren't finding other players. You don't know why it was? It's because everyone had their own solar systems, and the solar systems were just so big, like the universes and stuff, that no one really figured out that when you joined another person's solar system, you were just joining their world basically. So they didn't. It was a while until they revamped the game and added to where you could fly to other people's solar systems and shit.
Yeah. I never played No Man's Sky, so I can't really comment on that part. But I have heard about that was a major issue. From what I was able to understand back in the day when it all was happening, was in No Man's Sky, as you said, with that issue, and then there was the other issue where there was just actually a lot of bugs that happened.
Oh, the game's still buggy. Like, there's a bug you can get to where you can glitch out the building interface to basically allow you to place down objects without paying for the materials, and you can disassemble the objects for materials.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of late games. As long as you have the blueprint for them, you can get a lot of late game shit just by doing that. Like, building, structures and stuff on new planets is no issue, because you can just bug out the game and make a small shelter and place all the shit. You don't even need to go search the materials.
Yeah, that...
Oh, getting materials is still worth it, because you can sell them on the market and shit.
Yeah. But I don't know how, they're gonna do that anymore with just how everything is and how everything has became. Like I said, I truly do miss when games were fully finished, on release, and there wasn't a huge fact of the matter where everyone was trying to force a game to be finished or force a game to be out as soon as they could. It was, you had to wait. And that was what really made it, worth, in my opinion. And making things, worthwhile in games were one of the best kind of things.
Oh, grinding out, or doing something really hard and you actually get something good? Yeah, I know, it's fucking disappointing.
I want to say, what game was it? I think I have it, actually. Oh yeah. Most people who are my age will remember this game. I know you remember this game most definitely. Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
Oh yeah, brother. For me it was more Lego Batman, but I know what you're talking about. I used to play Lego Batman with my brother Robert all the time.
Yeah. The game, even with all the updates and everything that came out with the PS3 edition or the PS4 edition. Well, I don't think there was a PS4 edition, sorry. There was only a PS3 edition, or next gen, quote unquote, back then. Is that it helped to a point where it was actually fun.
Yeah. Oh. Dude, I think I'm gonna have to get off. I'm getting pretty tired.
Alright.
Well, it was nice joining your podcast. I hope whoever can chat has a good night. I'm out of here. And we'll catch the shut up.
Alright, man. Have a great night.
You too, buddy.
But yeah, another huge thing, chat, is that I want to say, back when I was playing games and everything, and keep in mind, I'm still only 20 years old, but back when I used to play a lot of video games, and a lot of everything. I was not, how would I say, I was not like the most popular when it came to like knowing what to do, knowing anything. But I tried a lot. And getting to a point, sorry. But getting to a point where you're comfortable with how you play a game, or just in general, is one of the biggest things that you can be comfortable with. A huge aspect of gaming in today's day and age has become to a point where it's just you thinking about how to do things. And if you can't think straight with what you're wanting, like how you're wanting to game, or with what games you want to play, you can't really do it like you would hope. Now, another huge thing that I want to bring up is that, as I was saying before about like plug and play, yes, granted, I do miss it. I do miss those days. But I don't think, with as big as games are anymore, I don't think we should have it anymore. I think they should stay the same, the way that they are. Not games in general, but like how, I want to say, how the games are put together themselves. Another huge thing that I loved back in the day was learning all these new tricks in games, learning all these new fun things to do in these games. And I never thought that I could get as far as making like content and everything for it. Because back when these things came out, back when I was like growing up, yeah, we had bits and parts of them, but we never truly had it, if you know what I mean. Like, we had the parts where there was, what do you say? What do I mean? We had the parts back when YouTube was first starting, where it was YouTube, the quote-unquote dating app at the time. And Twitch wasn't even around either. But a thing that we had back then was really just sharing your videos that you can make with someone. Like, that was the biggest thing, is that you didn't have anything, really. It was all just there for show. And that was one of my hugest things, is that I didn't want to just do it for show. And I know I'm just blabbering on about a lot of other things at one time, but like that's what content creation is anymore. It's not just one thing, it's everything. And that's another huge part that I love when I do YouTube here, or Twitch, is that it's not just one thing, it's everything. And if I could take it back to try something different, I don't think I would. If I'm being honest, if I was able to go back and redo certain things to a point where I could try something else, I think I would try to do a bit better with how I try to get this content out. Or what games I would have played. And harking back to something that I said earlier with how games are in themselves, is that or not how games are in themselves. Harking back to what I said about things became what they are for that reason, is that none of these games or anything was really meant to be played like on certain things, as you know from say Twitch or standards of YouTube or anything like that. It just wasn't meant to be. But right now, without my second party for Contains2Disks, the party number 2 of Contains2Disks, I will have to leave this stream, or this podcast, here for now. When we come back with Jacob, hopefully, we will have, again, Contains2Disks back with the original squad. And as you guys know him, Jacob is I'm Batman _13, or back in the day on my YouTube channel, Dope Hybrid Bats. Me and him go back forever. But anyways, I love all your faces. I hope to see you guys in the next podcast we do. Bye, guys.